He spray foamed my front door shut. My own brother. After everything I'd done for them, paid their bills, bailed them out, stayed quiet, I came home one night and couldn't even get inside. That's when I realized they never loved me, just the version of me that kept giving. Hi, I'm Serena, and this is the story of how my siblings sold our family home behind my back, and how I used the money my secret mentor gave me to buy it back and evict them. Have you ever been the one who held your family together, only to be treated like the villain when you stopped sacrificing? I'd love to hear your story in the comments. Let's go back to the night it all began. The dinner where I learned I was no longer part of the family. Not by accident, by design, by... When I got the text from Mom, lasagna tonight, just us, like old times. My stomach twisted in a way that had nothing to do with hunger. I hadn't been to the house in 6 months, not since Brielle accused me of dressing for attention at Dad's birthday dinner because I wore a navy blazer and heels. Apparently, showing up clean and confident now translated to outshining the family. I stared at the screen for a full minute before locking it and tossing it face down on the table. This wasn't just dinner. Celeste never invited without a motive, and the word "just us" felt like a setup, like a curtain call I hadn't been told to rehearse for. Still, I drove. The house looked the same: white shutters, manicured lawn, the wind chime that hadn't made a sound since the spring Dad forgot to oil it. Grayson's absurdly large truck was parked sideways across the driveway, as if to claim more space than necessary. Brielle's white Lexus with glittery Queen Bee plates sat behind it like a staged influencer shoot. I parked around the corner. The door creaked open before I knocked. "Look who remembered she has a family," Brielle sang, teeth too white for a sincere smile. "Hi, Brie," I muttered, taking off my coat. Grayson didn't look up from his phone. He gave a grunt that might have passed for a hello. Probably checking scores on a game he'd bet on with money he didn't have. Inside, the house smelled like oregano and false warmth. Mom, Celeste, hovered around the oven like a Food Network host, pulling out lasagna with an oven mitt that read, "Family First." Dad, Walter, sat at the table folding napkins into near-military triangles, the way he did when he was trying not to pick a side. As we sat, Celeste launched into an overcompensating parade of updates. Mrs. Mendez next door was getting her hip replaced. The church's stained glass finally restored. Brielle had landed a collab with some skincare line I'd never heard of. I barely responded. I was waiting. Everyone was. And then it came. Right as Dad brought out the lemon pie. Celeste cleared her throat. Grayson suddenly set down his phone. Brielle straightened like a news anchor. Celeste smiled. "We wanted to talk as a family," she began, her voice the kind you'd use for reading bedtime stories. Grayson took over, smug. "We finalized the will last week. Thought it was only fair you heard it from us directly." I froze, fork midair. "The will?" I echoed. Celeste beamed. "We've decided the house and our assets will go to Grayson and Brielle." I set my fork down slowly. "All of it?" "You don't need it," Grayson said. "You've got your whole successful, independent woman thing going on." Brielle laughed under her breath. "Yeah. And the rest of us? We still need help. Some of us didn't get the magic money gene." I turned to Walter. He looked at the silverware like it had suddenly become fascinating. I felt the weight of silence pressing down on my chest like wet concrete. "So, let me get this straight," I said, keeping my voice level. "I paid off your mortgage for 2 years. I paid Grayson's DUI fees. I bought Brie's entire influencer setup. And now I'm being cut out because I didn't crash and burn hard enough?" Celeste gave a sigh. "You've always been the strong one, sweetheart. You don't need us." Brielle leaned back smugly. "Buying stuff doesn't mean you're owed anything." Grayson nodded. "You did it to feel important. Admit it." I clenched my jaw. You know what hurts? I said quietly. Not that I'm being excluded. Not that you used me. It's that you never even pretended to like me. Just used me as long as I stayed silent. Celeste gave a thin-lipped smile. Don't be dramatic. No, I snapped. I'm being honest, which none of you have done in years. Grayson chuckled. This is exactly why we didn't tell you sooner. Always making it about you. I stood. The chair scraped the hardwood. Everyone flinched. You're right, I said. I don't need you. But you've always needed me, and now you'll find out what life looks like without my help. I turned to Walter one last time. Are you okay with this? His mouth opened, then closed. He couldn't look at me. That was all I needed. I walked to the door. My hands didn't tremble. My voice didn't crack. But my heart. It was caving in on itself. At the threshold, I turned back. I wasn't hoping for an apology. I just wanted to see if any of them would stop me. No one moved. So I said it. You sold me out for comfort. I hope it was worth it. Then I left. The night air hit my lungs like truth. Cold, hard, unflinching. I sat in my car, gripping the wheel with white knuckles. My phone buzzed in the cup holder. Unknown number. The text read, You deserved better. If you're ready to fight back, I can help. ER. The morning after I walked out of that house, the silence inside my apartment felt too clean. Not peaceful. Sterile. Like everything had been scrubbed of sound, of memory, of meaning. I stared at the ceiling, still fully clothed, my phone face down on the nightstand. I hadn't slept, just hovered between anger and clarity. When I finally picked it up, there it was. The message from last night. You deserved better. If you're ready to fight back, I can help. I sat up slowly. Elijah Rowe. I hadn't seen that name since the Tech Women Gala in 2021. He was a client back then, a powerful one. We'd worked together briefly when his company merged with a global cloud infrastructure firm. I remembered his calm voice, the way he always paused before answering a question, not someone who wasted words. I stared at his message for a full minute before I typed back. What do you mean by help? The reply came faster than expected. Coffee, tomorrow, 10 a.m., Broadview Cafe. My treat. I arrived early because of course I did. Broadview Cafe was quiet, minimalist, the kind of place where every chair was the same shade of beige and every croissant cost $7. Elijah was already there, wearing a navy sweater and that same unreadable expression he always had. Like he'd already calculated every possible outcome of the conversation. Serena, he said, standing to shake my hand. Elijah, I nodded. You're punctual. You're earlier, he replied, smiling slightly. We sat. I ordered an Americano. He ordered nothing. I saw the shift in your tone last quarter, he said, on LinkedIn. Then came the silence. And then, he paused. I heard about your family, through a mutual contact. Of course, the tech world is just a whisper network with better Wi-Fi. I'm not interested in pity, I said flatly. I'm not offering it, he replied. I'm offering leverage. I tilted my head. Go on. I have resources, legal teams, real estate advisors, quiet capital. What I don't have is time. But I make exceptions for people who've already paid their dues in blood. I blinked. This is personal? He didn't answer. Instead, he slid a business card across the table, Renaissance Holdings, LLC. Beneath it, a single handwritten line. Everything they took can be reclaimed. What's the catch? I asked. No catch. Just clarity. You were erased from the will. Let's put you back on the map. In your own name. I stared at the card. My fingers itched. My spine straightened. That afternoon, I logged into my banking app. I stared at the long list of automated payments, Mortgage transfer, $1,800. Utilities, $264. Brielle's equipment fund, $450. No more. I hovered, then clicked. Cancel recurring payment? Yes. Confirm termination of all linked transfers? Yes. It was terrifying how easy it was to sever the vein they'd been feeding from. Within minutes, the phone lit up like Christmas. Brielle. Hey sis, utilities bounced. Might be a glitch, Lowell, can you check? Grayson. My Venmo's not working. You switch banks or something? Celeste. Sweetheart, I hope you're not doing something drastic. Families recover from hard talks. Don't let pride drive decisions. I didn't reply. Instead, I called Lorraine, my mother's sister. The one person in the family tree who didn't bleed manipulation. She answered on the third ring. Serena? I need a referral for a real estate lawyer, I said. There was a pause. Then, whatever you're planning, make sure they can't undo it. That evening, Brielle posted a story. Pink cursive over a moody photo of a candle. Some sisters only love when their money flows. No name, but everyone who mattered knew. It was a performance. The kind of soft gaslight that spreads like perfume, just strong enough to linger. I took a screenshot. Saved it into a folder I'd named Receipts. The comments rolled in like clockwork. You don't deserve that kind of toxicity, Brie. Money isn't love. Stay strong, queen. Is this about your sister? Wow. I didn't flinch. I didn't respond. But I did open another folder, labeled Evidence, Financial Ties. Inside, I uploaded copies of the transactions I'd made for them over the past 3 years. Mortgage transfers, tuition offsets, equipment reimbursements, receipts, real ones. By Friday, the silence turned to tension. Grayson left a voicemail. Look, I know things got weird, but we don't have to go nuclear. Let's just talk. Talk? That word had become code in my family. Talk meant, let us guilt you back into submission. Have you ever realized that the word talk in your family just means get back in line? That love was only real when you stayed silent or useful? If that hits home, drop a number 7 in the comments. I see you. Now let's see what I did next. I deleted the voicemail. That afternoon, Elijah's assistant emailed a PDF summary of undisclosed property transfers, Holt family residence. The house was never officially appraised before being signed over to Brielle and Grayson. There was no external counsel, no notarized adjustments. Technically, the transaction could be contested. I exhaled. Finally, a crack. I didn't hear the foam until I tried to turn the key. It was a Monday evening, nearly 9 p.m. I'd stayed late at work, half distracted by floor plans and legal loopholes. The sun had already dipped behind the skyline. I just wanted to throw my shoes across the room and pour myself something red and defiant. But my key wouldn't go in. I frowned, crouched down. There was something jammed in the lock, something solid, unnatural. I touched it with my fingers. It was rough, hardened, and stuck in every crevice of the doorframe. Yellow, expanding foam insulation. I froze. I knew what this was. Someone had sealed me out of my own home. I took a step back, scanning the doorframe. Foam packed every visible crack, between the hinges, around the deadbolt, even beneath the door where the light usually slipped through. It had dried solid. This wasn't a prank. This was premeditated. Footsteps echoed behind me. Leon, my building manager, had just finished his rounds. He stopped mid-stride when he saw me crouching in front of the sealed door. "What the hell?" he muttered. I stood slowly. "They really did it." He blinked. "Who?" "My brother." I called a locksmith. While we waited, I pulled up the building's security camera feed on my phone. Leon hovered behind me, mouth tight, silent but curious. It didn't take long to find it. Grainy footage from the hallway cam, time-stamped 2 nights ago. A man in a hoodie stood in front of my door for a full 10 minutes. He looked around once, twice. Then he pulled out 2 massive cans of spray foam from a backpack. It was Grayson. I knew that limp, that exaggerated left roll in his gait. Something he'd faked since high school to get attention after football tryouts. He moved slowly, methodically, like a handyman. Like he was fixing something. He wasn't rushing. He wanted it to stick. I recorded the footage and saved it to my laptop and a backup USB. Then I sent a copy to my inbox labeled, "Insurance, Vandalism, Suspect Confirmed." The locksmith finally arrived. He took one look at the door and shook his head. "This ain't a prank," he said. "This is industrial grade. Somebody came prepared." He got to work chiseling around the seal. Every scrape felt like confirmation. Like, yes, they had crossed the line. And now, I was going to draw one of my own. Inside, the place smelled faintly of chemicals. I walked in and shut the door behind me. Then I opened my laptop. I uploaded the footage. Opened the Seattle PD non-emergency site. Type of incident: vandalism. Suspect known: yes. Relationship: brother. I attached the file, double-checked the details, and clicked submit. My heart didn't race. It focused. An hour later, I received an auto reply from a city officer confirming my report. Someone named Reyes had been assigned the case. It felt strangely formal, empowering. This time, I wasn't asking for fairness. I was documenting damage. The next morning, I woke up to silence. Calm, earned silence. I didn't check my phone right away. I took a hot shower, brewed coffee, even folded my laundry without headphones. By 10 a.m., a voicemail landed. It was Celeste. No soft preamble. No, "Good morning, sweetheart." Just fury. "You called the police? Serena, we are your family. You called the cops on your brother? Have you completely lost it?" I deleted it without listening to the end. Another message followed from Walter. "There has to be another way to handle this. Can't we fix this without lawyers?" I didn't answer. Because here's what no one in that house ever understood. Boundaries aren't betrayal. They're survival. At noon, my phone rang again. I didn't recognize the number, but I answered. "This is Detective Reyes, Seattle PD. We reviewed the footage you submitted. It's clear and intentional. We've reached out to Mr. Grayson Holt. He was less than cooperative." Of course he was. The detective continued. "He's been advised to make restitution before we move forward with formal charges." I said thank you. He said, "You're doing the right thing." And I believed him. Because for once I wasn't playing peacemaker. I was protecting my space. Minutes later, Walter texted again. "What will it take for you to drop this? Name it. We'll figure it out." I thought about it. The locksmith's bill. The door replacement. The time I'd lost. The sleepless night. The insult. Then I replied, $3,000. That's what it cost to repair the damage, plus an apology. A real one. From Grayson. Written and signed. His reply came fast. "This is extortion." I smiled to myself, and I typed, "Number. This is consequence." I left the message there, unread. By 6 that evening, a bank notification popped up. Deposit received. $3,000, memo, final payment. I stared at the screen, the words bold and quiet and beautifully transactional. For years, I'd been the one making silent transfers, quiet rescues, no receipts, no demands, no credit. And now, they were paying me back. Not for everything, not even close. But it was a start. And this time, it was on my terms. The email came on a quiet Thursday afternoon. Subject line, "Private auction, Holt family residence." I reread it 3 times. It was from a real estate firm I'd flagged weeks ago, back when Elijah's legal team started digging. The house I grew up in, my childhood kitchen, my old bedroom, the front porch where I'd waited for the school bus every winter, was up for private auction. I leaned back in my chair, the memory washing over me. That house had a squeaky step 2 planks from the top. I used to tiptoe around it on Christmas Eve, sneaking to the tree early. The window above the sink always fogged up when Mom baked lemon squares, and the hallway smelled like cedar in the summer, because Dad forgot to replace the closet lining for years. That wasn't just a building. That was the only place I ever felt both invisible and essential. They hadn't just removed me from the will. They had flipped the house without blinking. And now, they were selling it again. This time, I wouldn't be left out. I responded with one sentence. I'll be there. Representing Renaissance Holdings. The following morning, I stood outside a sleek glass building in Bellevue, wearing black slacks, a charcoal blazer, and sunglasses large enough to shield both my identity and my expression. Inside, the auction room was quiet and cold. Mahogany conference table, leather chairs, small pitchers of lemon water, and 10 neatly stacked bidding packets. The blinds were half closed, letting in slits of gray daylight across the polished floor. A faint ticking came from the wall clock. Every movement echoed. Everyone present was either a lawyer, a developer, or someone pretending to be both. At the far end of the room, I spotted them. Celeste, Brielle, Grayson. They hadn't seen me yet. Brielle was mid-whisper, adjusting her sleeve and glancing toward the entrance, as if waiting for some last-minute investor to swoop in. Grayson looked annoyed, like someone who hadn't had breakfast and blamed everyone else. Celeste sat with her legs crossed, her face composed, her eyes sharp. They had no idea I was already in the room. I took my place 2 seats away, introduced myself to the bidding official as a representative of Renaissance Holdings LLC, and opened my packet. Lot number 4. One detached single-family home in North Seattle. Previously transferred between family members without official appraisal. Current market estimate, $660,000. The auction began. The first 3 properties moved quickly, each snapped up by corporate names with no backstory. Then came lot number 4. My family's house. Opening bid, $500,000, the auctioneer announced. Grayson raised his card without hesitation. 510. A pause. Someone else raised theirs. 520. Then mine. 530. Celeste's gaze shifted. Brielle leaned into her. Who the hell is that? Grayson. Probably just a flipper. 540. Brielle announced, loud enough to sound confident. 560. I countered. Celeste glanced over now, just once. Her eyes narrowed. 575. Grayson barked, louder than necessary. I waited, then raised my card. 600. There was tension in the air now. The kind that doesn't come from money, but memory. Celeste whispered something to Brielle, who nodded. Then she looked to their lawyer. He leaned closer and whispered, almost too quietly, "We can't win this." She didn't react. 650, Celeste called. The room fell into a hush. The auctioneer turned to me. Do I hear 670? I didn't blink. 700. Celeste stiffened. Grayson looked like he might punch the table. Brielle instinctively reached for her phone, but Celeste caught her wrist under the table, her nails pressing just hard enough to deliver the message. Not here. 702, I added. No one countered. Going once, going twice. Sold. The gavel hit the table. I stood, removed my sunglasses. Celeste gasped. Brielle froze. Grayson swore under his breath. Thank you all for your efforts, I said calmly. I'll take it from here. Their faces told me everything I needed to know. Shock, disbelief, and underneath it all, fear. Because this time, They couldn't control the narrative. This time, I hadn't just walked away. I'd bought the house they tried to erase me from, and I'd done it in front of them. As I signed the closing documents, I noticed a faint brown stain on the top right corner of the folder. A smudge that had bled through years ago. I remembered it. Celeste spilled chai tea on my school paperwork the night before parent-teacher conferences. I had to rewrite the entire essay by hand at 10 p.m. Even her stains had outlived her care. I pressed my pen down, signed with a full flourish. 30 minutes later, I stepped out into the sunlit parking lot, air cool against my skin. I called Elijah's team. "Prepare the eviction notices," I said. "They're out in 30. The morning was colder than expected. A sharp Seattle breeze cut through the air as I stepped out of the car and stood across the street from the house. My house. Technically, legally, and after years of being treated like a guest in my own story, rightfully mine. The cul-de-sac looked the same. Quiet. Deceptively ordinary. But today, there was something different in the air. The weight of inevitability. I stared at the roofline, remembering the first winter I shoveled the driveway alone while Grayson claimed a back strain that never existed. Remembered repainting the porch rails with my own money when Dad lost his job. No one thanked me, but the paint job lasted. Longer than their gratitude ever did. A black SUV from the sheriff's office idled 2 houses down. My attorney, dressed in a dark gray coat, stood near the sidewalk, checking her clipboard. And behind me, a camera crew from a local housing rights nonprofit had quietly taken position, ready to document a rare case of estate abuse turned legal restitution. I hadn't asked them to come, but I wasn't stopping them either. At exactly 9:02 a.m., the officers knocked on the front door. A long pause. Then footsteps. Grayson answered first, shirtless, his hair a mess, blinking into the daylight like a man who hadn't slept. Behind him, Brielle appeared in a silky robe, her phone already in her hand. She held it up, recording. "Are you serious right now?" she barked. "You brought cameras?" The officer spoke calmly. "We're here to execute a legal eviction order for this property. You've been served. You have 1 hour to vacate." Grayson scoffed. "This is a joke?" Brielle turned to him. "She's actually doing this." From behind them, Celeste emerged. Her hair was pinned up, but stray strands framed her face. She looked tired, and for once, not rehearsed. She stepped forward. "Serena, please." I stayed where I was, arms crossed. "You're really going to do this?" she asked, her voice shaking. "This is our family home." "No," I said quietly. "You made it your leverage. I'm just taking back what you sold." Walter wasn't there. I didn't ask why. Celeste tried again. "You're tearing this family apart." I took a step forward now. My voice didn't rise, but it landed like a gavel. "This family tore itself apart the day you decided money was thicker than love." Grayson slammed a cabinet inside, loud enough for everyone to hear. "This is messed up," he yelled. "You don't evict your own blood." "No," I replied, "but you don't sabotage your sister's life and expect rent-free loyalty either." Brielle panned her phone toward the officers, narrating in mock shock. "So this is what success looks like, huh? Suing your family, evicting us." Wow. One of the officers turned to her. "Ma'am, please focus on your belongings." She rolled her eyes but backed away, typing furiously with one hand. Her ring light toppled off the counter behind her with a soft clatter. She didn't even flinch. From the driveway, one of the officers quietly radioed in the status. "Holt residence, eviction in progress, compliance tense, but no resistance." His voice echoed faintly under the tense morning hum. By 9:40, the front lawn was cluttered with suitcases, boxes, a makeup light, Brielle's keyboard stand, and 2 oversized duffel bags labeled Grayson's gear. Someone had dropped a cup of iced coffee near the curb. It dripped slowly into the grass. The camera crew stayed silent, recording every motion. A boom mic hovered over the group like a judgmental cloud. Celeste sat on the porch steps, hands clasped in her lap, eyes fixed on the sidewalk. She hadn't said another word since our exchange. As Grayson dragged a rolling suitcase down the walkway, he stopped next to me. "You think this makes you powerful?" He spat. "You think this fixes anything?" I looked him in the eye. "No," I said, "but it finally makes things honest." Have you ever stood your ground, not out of pride, but because someone needed to hear the truth? That moment when you stop explaining and start reclaiming? If you've been there, comment a 9 below. Your strength is not invisible. Let's finish what I started. He rolled his eyes and kept walking. Brielle trailed behind, her phone still recording. She gave a fake little wave to the crew. "Hope you're getting this. This is what betrayal looks like, folks." A man in a denim jacket nearby, probably from the nonprofit team, whispered to my attorney, "We've never seen one this symbolic. It's cinematic." Celeste was the last to stand. When she passed me, she didn't say anything, but her eyes lingered just for a second. And for the first time in my life, I didn't flinch under her gaze. I didn't shrink. I didn't apologize. I just stood there, spine straight, chin lifted, not out of arrogance, but alignment. Because this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about truth. When the door finally closed behind them, I turned the new key in the lock. The click echoed through the hall like punctuation. Inside, the house was quiet. Not empty. Not hollow. Just quiet. Mine. The house didn't echo the way I expected it to. I thought silence would feel like an accusation. Cold. Empty. Punishing. But it didn't. It felt earned. Like the quiet wasn't absence but permission. It had been 5 days since the eviction. I hadn't heard from any of them. Not Celeste. Not Grayson. Not even Brielle, who usually couldn't go 12 hours without a passive-aggressive story or some cryptic caption. I should have felt triumphant, but what I felt was stillness. I stood in the center of the living room, barefoot on hardwood floors I used to polish every summer break, even though no one asked me to. The same floor where I learned how to fold laundry, how to iron Dad's shirts, how to stand quietly while Celeste rehearsed her social smiles in the mirror near the stairs. Now, those stairs creaked under my own steps. No one else's. I opened the front window and let in the breeze. Outside, wind brushed through the hedges. Birds chirped without urgency. A neighbor walked his dog and waved at me. I waved back. He didn't know who I was, but that felt right. The scent of old wood and lemon cleaner hung faintly in the air. Somewhere in the walls, the heater ticked and hissed, familiar rhythms in a house that used to demand everything and now asked for nothing. I made coffee. Real coffee. French press. Ground by hand. I sat at the kitchen table, the same one Celeste used to cover with bills and guilt, and I opened my laptop. I didn't check the family group chat. I had left it. Instead, I opened a folder titled Receipts, then another, Resolved. I moved the files over, one by one. Legal PDFs, Venmo screenshots, video files, time-stamped text threads, not because I needed to look at them, but because I needed to let them go. Around noon, the doorbell rang. I hesitated, then opened it. Lorraine stood there. Her coat was too thin for March. Her hands gripped a box of cookies and a paper bag. "Figured you wouldn't answer if I texted first," she said. I stepped aside. "Come in." We sat at the table. She didn't speak right away. That was new. Usually, silence in this house had to be earned, broken, or weaponized. She poured tea. The ceramic clinked gently against the wood. I watched her hands. She looked at the sunlight coming through the window and nodded, more to herself than to me. "Your mother told us you were dramatic," she said softly. That you were obsessed with fairness. I said nothing. She continued. I believed her. For a while. I finally met her gaze. And now? I saw the eviction clip. I read your post. I called the old mortgage officer and I realized we've only ever heard her version. I didn't cry, but something in my chest cracked just slightly, like ice thinning over deep water. Then she added, almost too gently, she said you were cold. But I think you just got tired of bleeding. That did it. My throat closed. It wasn't sobbing. It wasn't theatrical. It was quieter than that. A tightness behind my ribs. Like something folded inside me had finally started to uncurl. Because no one in my family had ever said that before. That I was tired. That I was human. That I had limits. I looked away, blinking fast. She didn't fill the silence. We sat like that for a while. No agenda, no performance. Just two people and some tea. Before she left, she handed me a small envelope. It's from your grandfather's will, she said. Celeste never passed it on. Inside was a note, written in blue ink. To Serena, the one who always saw everything. No money, no check, just a sentence. But it was the first time anyone in my family had acknowledged my eyes, not just my wallet. After she left, I walked back through the house. Every room still had traces of them. A faint perfume in the hallway, scratches on the banister. The shape of silence they used to fill. But the house no longer felt haunted. It felt honest. In the den, an old clock ticked with a metronomic click. The ceiling fan groaned once, then stilled. The fridge hummed in the background like it was trying not to be heard. I stood at the top of the stairs for a long time, watching the light from the street lamp break into soft ribbons on the floor below. I pulled a blanket around my shoulders and opened a blank page in my journal. I wrote one sentence. They left me nothing but finally gave me peace. Then I closed it, stood up, and turned off every light in the house, without fear of who might still be lurking in the dark. I no longer have to sacrifice myself just to be seen. No longer live inside a silence built by others. This house, once a place where I was invisible, is now a symbol of freedom, dignity, and boundaries reclaimed. I've learned that kindness doesn't mean letting people walk over you. Karma doesn't need to shout to echo. It just needs you to stop accepting wrong as normal. What about you? Have you ever been called too strong just because you finally said enough? Share your story in the comments. I read every message and believe every honest voice deserves to be heard. If this journey resonated with you, stay tuned. The next story is for those who carried everything in the dark and are just now learning how to step into the light.